Hello and welcome to my YouTube. In this YouTube, I'm going to demonstrate 10 free folk music styles for your Yamaha E463 keyboard. Hello, I'm your host, Maury Reese, and over the past 5 years, I have published 131 YouTube videos teaching people how to use their Yamaha E463 keyboard, and 1.3 million people have watched them so far. I started playing American folk music on my guitar when I was a freshman in high school, way back in 1958. This is me with the guitar and the black hair. I know what you're thinking. If he went to high school in 1958, he must really be old. And you're right. This is my wife Sue and I, and we just turned 81 years old last month. So when I was in high school, from 58 to 62, there were a lot of new musical acts that came onto the scene, and they were singing folk music. And here are some of my favorites. Peter, Paul, and Mary came out in 1961 with their first songs. The Kingston Trio started writing and recording songs also in 1958. A guy by the name of Bob Dylan came on the scenes in 1958. And a lady by the name of Joan Baez started recording in 1960. The Brothers Four had started a year before I went to high school in 1957. And Judy Collins started recording when I was a junior in high school in 1961. Also, the New Christy Minstrels were recording when I was in high school. And a group called the Highwaymen had just started recording in 1958. So right when I was learning to play the guitar with my buddies, all of these folk groups were coming onto the scenes, and we were buying their records and we were playing their songs. Unfortunately, there are no folk styles built into the E463 keyboard. If you look on the keyboard over on the right-hand side, you see this list of all the different style categories. And what is missing is folk. And that's the reason I made this YouTube. I went on the internet and I found 10 SFF1 folk styles. This is the format that a style has to be in to be able to play on this keyboard. So I found 10 of these. Actually, I found several dozen, but I narrowed it down to 10 that I thought were decent enough to spend time on. And I have uploaded these 10 folk styles into my online box. And you can go into my box and download these folk styles into your computer or your smartphone or your tablet, and then transfer them to a USB thumb drive and install them in your E463 keyboard. Now, if you don't know how to do that, I have put in my comments this URL. So if you don't know how to install styles from a thumb drive into the E463 keyboard, watch my YouTube. I'll put the URL in my comments below so you can go and watch if you don't know how to get the styles from a thumb drive and load them into the 10 memory locations of your keyboard. And that's an important thing to know. You can only install 10 new styles at a time. Now, when you log into my box and you start looking at the styles, this is what you're going to find. And what I tried to do is I tried to give them names of the songs that I'm going to be playing. I'll be playing a bluegrass, 500 Miles, Aura Lee, Blowing in the Wind, Michael Rode the Boat Ashore, The Cruel War, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? I can't even remember what the rain was. On Top of Old Smoky, and Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. These are songs from those groups and those individuals that I just mentioned, so you can have some idea of what these styles sound like. So let's go live to the E463 keyboard and hear these 10 folk styles. So here we are at the E463 keyboard, and I'm going to demonstrate those 10 folk styles that I've loaded up into my box, and you can go in and download. Now, I'm just going to use a piano in my right hand, because what I really want you to focus on is the style, which of course will be played with my left hand. So let me get it set up here. The first one is called Bluegrass, and I'm going to play This Land Is Your Land. Now, we can change many things. One of the things we can change is the tempo. That's a little fast, so let me slow it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's see what that sounds like. I like that better. Okay, that is Bluegrass. Okay, next is called Folk 500. Let me transpose this so we don't listen to everything in the same key. And I'm going to play the song 500 Miles. All right, change the next style, transpose a little bit here. This is Aura Lee. All right. Next is called Folk Blow. And I'm going to play Blowing in the Wind. Folk Blow is the name of the style. bass is a little loud in there. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to take it out. So I'm going to hit track number 2. That's where the bass is. Put it back in. So if you don't like one of the instruments in the style, you have 6 tracks over here, and you can turn on and turn off any one of the 6 tracks. In this case, I turned off track 2 because that's where the bass was. Generally speaking, track 1 is where the drums are, and track 2 is where the bass guitar is. All right, blowing in the wind. Let me set it up. This is called Folk Boat, and I'm going to play Michael Rowed the Boat Ashore. Change the style. This next style is called Folk Cruel, and I'm going to play the Peter, Paul and Mary song, The Cruel War. That's a little fast, so let's slow it down a little bit. Oops, still too fast. Okay, let's try that. The old Peter, Paul and Mary, The Cruel War. Next is style Folk Flow, F-L-O-W, and it stands for flowers, and that's because I'm going to play the song Where Have All the Flowers Gone? So this is Folk Flow, that's what it says, stands for flowers, since we only have 8 letters that we can see here. All right? Next is called Folk Rain. Let me transpose it a little bit. Folk Rain, and that's because the song I'm going to play is In the Early Morning Rain. All right. The next is called Folk Smoky, and that's because I'm going to play On Top of Old Smoky. Okay? Now on my keyboard it says Folk Smoke, S-M-O-K, because there's only 8 letters in the name in the window here. So it's called Folk Smoke, On Top of Old Smoky. This one's really an old one. And the last one I've called Folk Twice, T-W-I-C, Folk Twice. And that's because the song I'm going to play is, let me get it set up here. Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, the Bob Dylan hit song. Okay, Folk Twice. So that's the 10 styles: bluegrass, folk 500, folk aura, folk blow, folk boat, folk cruel, folk flowers, folk rains, folk smoky, and smoke twice. These are all in my box, and in the comments below this YouTube, I will put the URL of my online box. So you can go in there, download them into your computer or your smartphone or your tablet, transfer them into a thumb drive, plug the thumb drive in the back of your keyboard, and you can pull in those 10 styles and store them in the 10 memory locations of your keyboard. I hope you found this interesting. More important to me is for those of you that own this keyboard, I hope you have found this helpful. And if so, go make some music.